I am Brigadier Sant Singh of the Indian Army, ex-Indian Army I should say now. I was in service in 71 and I was ordered to report to Calcutta by 3rd of May 71, and there we were briefed by the Army Commander, okay, what is expected of us. So then I moved to a place called Tura. Tura is a district of Meghalaya. At one time it was part of undivided India, part of Mymensingh district. So in the jungle, I set up a camp for training Mukti Bani. First, we were to train them for 4 weeks, and the task was very limited. Now, we started training them in 2-3 things. One was weapons, of course, and then they were given the aim. Why? They were to make the civil administration ineffective, to achieve the same aim that some independence will come. And then cause maximum casualties on the Pakistan troops. Then disrupt communications. Because after all, if there are no communication, either wireless towers were blown up, or road bridges were blown up, and the railway lines were uprooted. But take Brahmaputra river skirting around Mymensingh. There, Mukti Bani uprooted the 3 kilometers of the railway line and put them in the river. So that was giving the hope to the Mukti Bani, to the local population, that independence would come, something is happening, that Pakistan cannot control it. So that was the task given to Mukti Bani. So in my sector, I was responsible for the districts of Mymensingh and Tangail. But if need arose, I could go even beyond these 2 sectors. For example, I got the information that Indian Air Force do not have the layout of Dhaka airfields. So I sent my men. They obtained blueprints of the Dhaka airfield, which then of course gave it to me, and then I sent them to Calcutta, to Eastern Command. But that Mukti Bani was very good in getting information. And then, of course, I planned attacks on them, how to do it. I give you example. For you take Mymensingh, Mukti Bani gave me the information. There was a Pakistani infantry brigade at Mymensingh, with 4 infantry battalions and other supporting weapons. So they gave me the information. In Mymensingh, there were certain buildings vacated by the students, and ammunition was dumped there. So I had the air raid on those barracks where the ammunition was stopped. So that way the information, accuracy of the information did help. Then the aims and what was required of us. Our living conditions are quite miserable. So I was living in a small tent in a jungle. I'm not used to it. But anyway, since we knew what is the mission, we bore all these difficulty living problems, without murmur. Mymensingh district called Phulpur. We didn't allow the Pakistanis to come there. Pakistanis, of course, were committing atrocities left, right, and center. Mukti Bani's training first was 4 weeks, then it was reduced to 3 weeks. Now, in 3 weeks training, you can't make a soldier fit for fighting against regular troops of the Pakistan army. And Mukti Bani was very scared of Punjabi troops. They didn't fear Baluchis or Pathans, but they were very scared because the atrocities were committed by Punjabi troops, most of it. I give you one example. There was a Razakar post. Mukti Bani captured that post, Pakistani post on Tripura border. Tripura border, nahi, correction, Meghalaya border, Tura district. 32 rifles were captured and 32 Razakars were captured. After a couple of days, Pakistan regular army came. There is a village nearby. They thought that this village has helped us, as a Mukti Bani. So they killed every male in that village and raped every woman in that village. I met one woman, she was shot in the thigh. She resisted rape and then she was shot in the thigh, then raped. I mean, this is one example, that there are hundreds of examples like that. So lack of training of the Mukti Bani was made up by their patriotism. More than made up, actually. They were so enthusiastic. I mean, there was so much josh in them. I'll give you a couple of examples. 2 of the Mukti Bani people were caught by the Pakistanis. They were being taken to kill them with guns pointing at their back. They turned around to Pakistanis and said, "Don't shoot us from the back. People will think these are cowards who are running away, have been shot from the back. Shoot us from the front in the chest." And so this is the sort of the spirit. There was another person who was helping Pakistanis to kill Hindus and Muslim army leaguers and also get their women raped. So I learnt this thing, then later confirmed it too. Now this young chap, I think he was just about 15 or 16 years old. Now this chap was his sister's husband. He went and killed him. I confirmed it later. So this is the sense of patriotism. I mean, killing her sister's husband, making her widow. I mean, what more patriotism do you expect? So the lack of training was more than made up by the patriotism. So this kept on happening until the war came. Actually, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, then Prime Minister, there was in Tura district a large number of refugee camps. She wanted to visit them and see conditions for herself. So I was asked to receive her at the helipad, forward helipad, very close to the border. So I received her at the helipad and she took me aside. Other ministers wanted to come, she signaled them to stay back. So just 2 of us. So she said, "Brigadier, quickly brief me." I briefed her about the situation in Bangladesh, and then she asked me a question. "You think this hostility will continue till December?" I said yes. Then she said, what are your reasons for this? By saying yes. So I gave her my reasons. I said, Pakistanis are dictators. Dictators always think then they can suppress any movement against them by force. I said, Pakistanis will not give up that. And therefore this hostility will continue. When I captured forward positions of the Pakistan army, actually I had Pakistani brigade at Mahmud Singh had 4 battalions. There are 2 battalions deployed on Mahendragarh Jamalpur axis. 2 were facing me on the Dalu axis, or Halwa Ghat axis you can call it. So I had only 1 battalion at that stage. When the war started, there was only 1 battalion under my command, and that was for a different purpose, not for any offensive. So anyway, I said I am going to do my best. So this battalion which was deployed forward of Halwa Ghat, it had extremely good bunker, brick line from inside, stacked with tons of ammunition, and I just couldn't have captured even with a brigade that thing. So what I did then, I went at a tangent, leaving their route of withdrawal unoccupied. And then I myself sent 2 companies back of this battalion. I said, you go, and I spread the rumor that 1 brigade is moving behind them. So myself with the other 2 companies and the battalion commander, of course, we went at a tangent, dug up at night. And there in the morning we opened heavy fire onto the Pakistani defenses. Oh, they opened everything they had on us. Because we were in trenches, we didn't suffer any casualties there. Maybe odd one, but by and large didn't suffer any casualties. So they learned about the brigade moving behind them, so they got panicky. They got panicky, and immediately after last light, next day, matlab 5th of December, I heard explosions in the battalion area. Then I straightway concluded that they are blowing up ammunition, they will be withdrawing. Then I moved forward at the angle and started, when they were withdrawing, started engaging them. So this battalion ultimately, I totally disturbed them, and they are no longer listed as a fighting force. Another battalion was coming again from other axes. I had some troops on there also, so that battalion was also disintegrated. Actually, this is my experience for the Second World War also. I took part in the Second World War also. Okay, once troops start withdrawing, they lose morale. So one can take risks in attacking them. Anyway, so I came across Halwa Ghat River. Now I had no boats, no engineers with me. So locally, Mukti Bani created a bridge out of tar, empty drums. So I crossed over with my jeep or those drums, and then other transport also we crossed over. Certain things crossed over. So this is a movement. Then we came across another river. That was a bigger river. Its bridge was blown up by Pakistanis. And now, how to get over that? My troops which were advancing, they crossed on the boats. Then Mukti Bani and locals, particularly locals, they came for help. Even at night, in the light of Petromexes, there was a nearby brick kiln. They start on their heads, on their bullock carts, bringing bricks and dumping them in the river. Ultimately, they created with brushwood and earth being trapped on a causeway. Of course, I had gone forward. I couldn't cross in my jeep. I borrowed a push bike and I went with the forward troops. So then I got the news that causeway has been created, other transfers were created. And then just before Maiman Singh, Pakistan had laid anti-tank mines on the route. Locals informed me again, because they had seen Pakistan is laying anti-tank mines. And would you believe it, locals volunteered, they removed the mines. And that across the ferry I crossed over to Maiman Singh, and Pakistani officers in the banks were destroying currency, burning them, all that. And some half-burned currency, something, and they ran back. Then I went further up. I had no orders to capture Maiman Singh. So at my own initiative, I captured Maiman Singh. Then went further, 50 kilometers away. On 14th morning, I was in Maiman Singh. My Div Commander General Nagra, he landed by helicopter at Maiman Singh. I didn't know what for he had come. So he was received and I took him to my office in the university guest house. Pakistani headquarters of the brigade was also there earlier. So he told me he wanted to know my reaction for capturing Dhaka or liberating Dhaka. I said, I jumped at it once he mentioned this. I said, this is lifetime opportunity to liberate the capital of a country. So I asked Nagra to lift me in his helicopter and drop at Tangail, giving orders to my staff to move this battalion and also some vehicles, the other personal vehicles, to Tangail. At Tangail, the Div Commander gave me 2 more battalions. I had 1 already, 2 more. Staff I had already more than a brigade. So now I was a complete brigade. So I started, I said, time is not to be lost. Why? Because 7th Fleet had concentrated in the Bay of Bengal. Chinese troops had concentrated in Tibet. So both were threatening. I tell you later on, General Niazi interview. Then there is a possibility, there is a proposal in the UN, they are trying Americans and to affect ceasefire. UN passed, Security Council to pass the resolution, but Russia was opposing it. So in that, I said, if anything happens, either 7th Fleet intervenes or Chinese intervene or UN, then Bangladesh would have not been free. So I said, nothing doing, we will start at night advance. Normally night advance is not done because it is a slow process. So I think at 10 or 11 o'clock at night on 14th, I started advance towards Dhaka. There's the road, and Dhaka, all bridges except one at Mirpur, all other bridges were blown up. So all forces were held up. From the east, from the north, they were held up. And so by midday, or little after midday, I captured a military dairy farm of the Pakistan Army and also high power antennas of Bangladesh radio or East Pakistan radio then. Acha. I got the message that Pakistani troops are withdrawing from the west. Be careful, provide flank protection. So I had to send 2 companies for flank protection out of 4. I had to have 2 companies. I didn't want to lose time because dark means you can't plan in the dark this attack. So I said, well, I'll take the risk. Their morale is down. I was told that there are about 1,200 troops deployed outside Sawar and between Military Dairy Farm and Swar town. I moved one company 180 degrees behind and attacked from behind. I think we killed about 25 of them and captured another 25. The rest ran away. So that caused a lot of confusion. These Pakistani soldiers were running away. Some civilians, pro-Pakistan civilians were also running away. So there was tremendous confusion. I took advantage of that confusion. The commander provided me 4 jeeps on which we had mounted medium machine guns. Covered them with tarpaulins, not knowing what is underneath the tarpaulin. So I had ordered these jeeps to rush across the bridge, capture the demolition guard, cut the demolition wires. So they did exactly. I lost 2 jeeps in that battle. I think I lost 3 men also and 1 major. His leg has to be amputated. But the bridge was captured intact. And that time was 2:30 on the night of 15th, 16th of December. So there are normal tactics when you cross an obstacle. So this obstacle of Badi Ganga Bridge at Mirpur was crossed. So we consolidate there. We make sure by putting in more troops there that if counterattack comes, we don't lose the bridge. The normal military tactics. And so I built up and this is a para-battalion, so I built up the bridge. Another company I sent across the bridge, and after ensuring now Pakistani attack cannot come, I started advancing towards the cantonment area. At that stage, General Nagra landed by his helicopter, so he gave me the message that they have intercepted Pakistani message of General Niazi passing the message to his troops outside to surrender only after 5 o'clock that day in the dark. That means at night nothing could happen again. So that was the time-gaining tactics. So I said nothing doing. We should force the surrender. So Nagra, on the bonnet of my jeep, wrote a note to Niazi. Say, Abdul, game is up, you surrender immediately. So with the white flag, it was shown the Pakistani next post. So they took the message to Niazi. Niazi accepted this and sent a message to General Jamshed Khan, yes, we are ready to surrender now. So I took over Jamshed Khan's American car. I drove it with General Nagra on the front seat with me and Niazi on the back seat. He guided us through the town to Niazi's headquarters there. So I told General Niazi, okay, General, I said, you are now prisoner of war and we will treat you according to Geneva Convention.